Peace and blessings and namaste to all light warriors, workers, and everything in between. It is I, Sophie, today, and it's very late. It's very late. And I just went through another experience. So while it was fresh on my spirit, I thought that it would be appropriate to share with you for the new ones that are awakening what it's like to have your third eye open and your pineal gland decalcified. And this is an encouraging video, but it does come with a lot of warnings because knowledge has increased across this world and many people are looking forward to having the ability to tap in. And I'm just here to share with you that be careful what you ask for, okay? Because it's not all the time cookies and cream or peaches and cream, all right? So I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've experienced. And I believe that some of us were born with our third eyes open and our pineal glands decalcified as a testimony. Not saying that we're any better than anybody else, but I think that the ones of us who came in this way did so for a reason, and it's to help the others who are going to be waking up or having these potentials unlocked, that we went through a lot of the harder experiences so that you don't have to. And we have the ability to pass down some of this wisdom to generation, and I'm doing my part, okay? Because some of it is a little bit scary. So, number one, and after this I'm going right back to bed, I promise that. Number one, the biggest thing is you're going to realize once you have opened up that third eye is that you're not alone. You're never alone. And this has been this way your entire life, okay? It's just that now that your third eye is open, you're aware of it. So when you become aware of it, life becomes a little bit more interesting, all right? If you have tapped into a level of clairsentience, when wandering spirits or angels or even dark negative energies come into your space or is close to your energy fields, or even if they're tapping into your consciousness, you'll be able to feel them and you're going to know that they're there. And if you have a high level of clairsentience, it might come across as anxiety. It might come across as tingling in certain areas of the body. Mainly, I experience mine around the heart, the throat, and pressure in the back of my head. Sometimes the sacral and root is affected depending on the energy. But you'll be able to pick up and to detect any type of energy that is around your energetic field because now you are very sensitive. See, back in the day when they had prophets, the reason why it was so easy for many to tap into the divine was because the Elohim was close at that time, and some of them were walking on the earth. That time is here again. So there are many Elohim that are walking on the earth right now, so you can tap into those energetic fields as well. And they can tap into yours pretty easily. So when you open up your third eye, you will realize that you're never, ever alone. Ever alone. Sometimes you'll catch them. For those who can see beyond the veil, if you're clairvoyant, in the twilight hours of the sleep, you might catch visions, okay? I've seen beings, tall beings, dressed in purple robes. I've seen clouds or pillars in my room. I've seen a huge golden angel. Massive chest and arms with bands around them, standing in my room with his arms crossed. But I've also seen very dark things too, very negative spirits, okay? Sometimes they come across as gray smoke when they're neutral. They'll come across in black when they're darker energy. And if they're coming across as electrical charges, If they're negative energy, they come across red, and light energy comes across white, okay? So I have the ability to see them sometimes, and it can be startling. I had a multi-dimensional dark entity enter in my room one evening that looked like a giant bug of some sort, but instead of legs coming out of his chest, he had arms, like reaching. It was very interesting when that happened because I didn't pray, I didn't scream, I didn't say anything. When I woke up, it startled me and I said, "Get out of here," and it just left. It just left. So when your third eye is open, you'll be able to see beyond the veil. And it's very easy to do because other beings are just a frequency away. Do you see what I'm saying? We're residing in frequencies like this that carry so these frequencies reside in certain dimensions. And typically, the ones that we see the most are 3 and 5D. If you can get past 3 and the 5D realms, then you'll go into the higher levels and you'll get to see higher level beings, okay? But that's one of the things that comes along with your third eye being open. Knowing, number one, you're never alone and always feeling like you're being watched, okay? And always having the ability to see these things and knowing that you can tap into the collective consciousness and they can also tap into you as well. So be careful with that. Another thing that will come along when your third eye is open is your hearing. When you're in your meditations, when you're in your prayers, sometimes you have the ability to tap into the collective and you'll hear conversations. Sometimes those conversations might even be about you. I've caught beings talking about me before. I've also caught random conversations that has nothing to do with anything, like pass the chicken, pass the biscuits or the rolls, you know. So you'll be able to tap in to certain conversations that are going on within the collective. And you can't control it. Well, I can't at this juncture right now. I just have to observe it when it happens. Another thing, you may have the ability to start remote viewing, and that's another thing that I have no control over or even understanding how that is happening. But every now and then, before you go to bed or before I will go to sleep, sometimes I will see images or people or places. That's in the now, you know. I'm not talking about like timeline jumping or dimension jumping where I'm going back to visit my former self. I'm talking about just random images, you know, and I can't control that either. So sometimes I'll go and I close my eyes and I'll be in a big city, or I'll see somebody, you know, with cornrows standing waiting for the bus, or I'll see two men arguing or something like that. And they happen in like 10 seconds, 20-second type of intervals. So it's not enough information that I'm actually receiving to be able to know what it means or decode anything, you know? So I'm just there, and it looks like I'm observing through the eyes of someone else. I haven't quite figured out if that's what I'm really doing or if I'm astral projecting and I'm actually watching it, okay? So I don't know if I'm tapping into somebody else's consciousness and have the ability to see what they see, or if I'm actually there. But 10, 20 seconds, you know, that's all I typically get. And it's very random, and it comes and it goes. So that's something else you have to deal with. Those of you who deal with spirit communication, channels, or spirit guides, angels, things of that nature, you want to be careful with this too. I told you before, you know, that we have more than one dimension, okay? And typically, when you're dealing with spirit communication, the closest to your energetic field are the ones that respond the quickest. Okay, so you are dealing with 3 and 5 dimensional beings most of the time until you have the ability to transition past those dimensions. All right. The scary part of the 3 and 5D realm is there's not a lot of honesty sometimes that comes through. And I'm not saying that it's all malevolent beings, because it's definitely not. There's a lot of benevolent beings that are here to assist in this journey. But the issue is, even with the benevolent beings, their information is very, very limited. So you have to be careful on what it is that you are speaking, and have the ability to identify the spirit that is speaking to you. Both light and dark beings in the 3 and 5 dimensional space can both be deceiving, but they do it for 2 different reasons, okay? Malevolent and dark negative energy. If you happen to broadcast out to the collective and one of them hears you. So before I get into that, let me explain how this works. That's important first. The higher dimensional being that you are, the broader your broadcasts are. But the limited is the people that have the ability to tap into your energy field. Okay? So, for instance, somebody starting off that might be a 3 or already a 5-dimensional being waiting for the earth to transition to 5D. When they broadcast to the collective, anybody from 3 and 5D and above will have the ability to hear them. But they're mainly broadcasting in the 3 and 5D realms of existence. The higher realms rarely get involved with everyday life decisions, okay? They don't. They are more or less focused on your evolutionary growth and the growth of the planet, okay? So most of the time when you're tapping in, you'll get a 3 or 5th dimensional being at first. Malevolent 3 and 5D beings will lie to you. And they'll lie to you because they don't want to see you grow. They don't want to see you evolve, okay? So, and they're trying to stop you and rob you of your light. So a lot of times they'll give you bad information, wrong information. Sometimes they like to set people against one another. So if you ever have a spirit that's into a lot of gossip, it's not one of the higher spirits. You just want to go ahead and move that out of the way. Okay, I'm going to teach you how. But right now I'm just sharing the dangers of these things. The light beings that are benevolent and for humanity, they can sometimes be deceiving too. But their reasoning is different, okay? Now, if they typically will give you right information as far as the outcome is concerned. They'll tell you exactly what's going to happen, but the methodology on how it's going to happen may be deceiving or deceitful to you. The reason why is some of them have studied you your entire life, and they know the risk of what you do when you receive prophetic utterances. Most of the time when we get a prophecy, we try to self-fulfill it. Okay, and which ends up messing it up more. So some of them will take you off course so that you don't focus on trying to fulfill the prophecy on your own, so that you can get there in its higher alignment or the highest alignment. Okay, so these beings can be deceitful as well, and you have to know that, but therefore your best interest. So we allow it sometimes. I call these the enemy necessary type of angels, where they'll tell you whatever you want to hear, whether it's true or not, but to get you on track. And then later on, you know, they might explain to you exactly why they did it in that way. So what we want to do for those of us who do spirit communication, okay, and there's a lot of different methods that we do it when your third eyes are open. Some of you are psychokinetic. Psychokinetic is the ability to manipulate objects through channeling chi energy through your body, okay? So these are they who can do tarot cards or manipulate pendulums, okay? As the energy comes through and enters in, you channel it outwards, okay? And that's psychokinetic. And some people have clairaudience. Clairaudience is when you can hear directly from the divine, all right? But understand, if you can hear directly from the divine, you can also hear from other spirits too. So remember what I said to you. Sometimes ghosts answer you, wandering spirits, watchers, angels, shadow people, extraterrestrials, they're all there. But when your third eye is open, now you're able to recognize it. They've always been there though, okay? So what we want to do when we're dealing with spirit communication is we want to make sure that we're getting the purest and the most authentic answers as possible. Typically, before I get into any type of prayer or meditation, I will say a brief prayer to the ineffable. And that's what I call the creator of all, is the ineffable. And I will ask the ineffable for his highest light to shine down on my communication and to wrap it in incorruptibility. And that means that I don't want any lying tongues or tricksters or anything to manipulate or interfere with my communication strategies at the time, okay? You can call the ineffable, you can call the locals, you can call Yeshua or Jesus if that's who you resonate with. But understand that even in Atlantis, when Atlantis started to fall, they called forth the locals, okay? So the locals, the ineffable, has been around since the beginning. So I call forth on that to protect my communication. It gets very difficult the more open that you are. So be careful. Entities come, they test you, they lie. They pretend to be other entities. And you have got to be on your toes and understand who you ride with. I was awakened out of my sleep. And sometimes that may happen where you might be dead asleep and you'll hear your name being called or another language spoken in your ear, and it jars you out of your sleep. Because now somebody's trying to get your attention. You got to be quiet. You got to learn how to listen. Some of you are portals, and you have the ability to open portals, and you don't know that you have this ability. So I'm going to share with you how I found out, how I got this ability. And if it resonates with you, now you'll know what it is. And you'll have to teach yourself. There was nobody around to teach me these things when I was a little girl. So the most things that I know right now has been from trial and error. Yeah. Touching things out. So, portals. When I was young, I grew up in my grandmother's house. I thought my grandmother's house was haunted. I used to see beings in there. I used to see a lot of scary things going on there when I was a little girl. Beings that would manifest, show up on the walls, hold conversations with me, always telepathically. When I was young, if I had ever came across another dimensional being, I always spoke telepathically, and I still speak telepathically today. Okay, so I used to think that my grandmother's house was haunted. And I wanted to leave, like really bad, you know? And I was scared of the dark a lot. So I always had to sleep with the television on or the nightlight on because of what I would see. And I would try to get out of it. And there was nobody that I really could talk to about that, you know? My grandmother would just say, get under the covers and go to sleep. She didn't know. I was scaring her. So then we moved. My mother and I moved, and we went to a completely different neighborhood. And that house was haunted. And I used to hear babies crying. middle of the night, from nowhere. I would see spirits walking from out of my mother's closet and just walking through walls. So I did a ritual to try to clean that house. All right? And when I say rituals, it's not magical. It's not magical. I just learned very young, at the age of 10, on how to lucid dream and manifest the things that I need. Of course, when I was 10, I manifested cartoon type of guns and swords because that's all that I could think of. But I opened up the windows in that house and I commanded those dark spirits to get out. And I was very much a Christian. So I always casted them out in Jesus' name because I knew he had the authority to do it when I didn't. So I always called him. It wasn't until older, I got older, that I realized that I had similar power on my own. But we'll get to that later. Then I moved the third time to North Carolina, and that house was haunted. Every location that I went had paranormal activity. Until I realized it wasn't the places that I was going, that it was actually me. And not all of the paranormal activity was negative. But I realized that I became a portal. Okay? And some of you have the same ability, especially if you are a medium, or if you are one who communicates with those that have already crossed over. Chances are you have the ability to open up portals for them. Nobody was haunted. It was just me. When you have a certain light, it is seen. Once you are introduced to the spiritual realm or the spiritual world, they know you. They either know you as being good, connected, or they know you as being negative and not connected. So you become the portal. And there's no place that'll be safe. Because it's just what it is. There's places where, yes, I can seal my home to prevent negative energies from coming through, but it doesn't stop the light ones from coming. Or disembodied spirits that want to go home from finding you. You stand out. You look like a light. You look like a giant flashlight in the darkness. And if you had a chance to see it from the outside realms looking down, it's just like little spots, LED lights, for where all the light workers and warriors are. So when you're a disembodied spirit, they gravitate to that light. So it doesn't matter where you go, you can't run from it. It's who you are, and it was what you were meant to do. So the only thing that you can do is either A, pray that your gifts be taken away from you, which was one of the prayers I did when I was very young and scared. Or B, you stay connected with Source, the creator of all, and you ask them, how am I supposed to use my gifts? Train me and teach me. Okay? It's scary. And it's coming from a place of authenticity and genuine, that this is not something that you can just walk away from. And when you ask and do the work to get your third eye open, be prepared for 1, 2, or even all of the things that I just mentioned to you. You'll have telepathic communication, and you might not even know the source that it's coming from. A lot of light workers and warriors like to talk about angel numbers and synchronicities. I've never related to any of that personally. When I see angel numbers and I look them up, they don't resonate. The meanings are generic and they don't resonate with me personally. When your third eye is open and you start to develop personal relationship with the other side, with the ineffable, with his angels, with Sophia, with ascended masters of Egypt and other ones that want to teach you something. When you start to connect with them and they start to connect with you, they learn you. They learn everything about you personally, even down to the music that you like. Now that's the fun part of having your third eye open. Because sometimes if I'm on YouTube, I'm cleaning my house and I'm having a jam session in my house when nobody else is around and it's me and it's certain songs that I like, you'd be surprised that certain angels like the same type of music that you do. And you might be dancing and you'll feel a presence dancing with you. And it's not all the time gospel. It's not gospel music, you know, it's not spiritual music. Sometimes it's just regular music that have a meaning behind it. You know, wind beneath my wings, something like that. You know, more than a woman. Like if I play the Bee Gees' More Than a Woman type of song, I'm stuck in 80s. I'm 70s and 80s and some little bit of 90s, you know. But if I'm playing that type of music around and there's angels around or in my energetic field and paying attention to it and they like the songs, they adopt them for themselves. So see why people may get cues from the universe with numbers and butterflies, dragonflies, you know, I've seen some of those as well, or color patterns, auras, orbs, and things like that. Mine is a little bit different. For each angel that taps into my energetic field, there's a song that is associated with them. So when a spirit is trying to get my attention that I know, they'll play their songs. And it'll stay in my memory, in my head all day long until I address it. That's something else that you'll be able to identify with as well. Make sure to cover any and all communications with the ineffable and incorruptibility, the highest light. Also, make sure when you're asking questions, if you get an answer, always follow it up with, are you being honest with me? Or is there any part of this communication that is deceitful? Because of the laws that they are bound to, if they are lying, they have to tell you. So always ask, especially if the answer doesn't sit well with you. Are you being honest with me? And they'll say no. You want to be honest with me now? Yes. And they'll tell you. All right? There was a reason why it was discouraged to communicate with spirits. It's not that in it of itself is evil, because it's not. It's just that a lot of the information can sometimes be harmful. See, there's a misconception that's going around because we have been taught it about false prophets. Let me correct this for you. There's no such thing as a false prophet, only false gods. A prophet only speaks what they are told. And to the prophet's knowledge, the information that they are receiving is accurate and correct and from the source. But the truth be told, it's not always that. And a lot of times it isn't. So see, it's not the prophet that's false. It's the God that is speaking to the prophet that is false. So when you get messed up information, remember, I told you have to make sure that you're covering your communications. Or if you're not at that level where you learn how to discern by the way the energy might feel to you when it's coming across, then my suggestion is not to tap into that and just pray instead. The dark hears you just as much as the light does. And if you want to be known, you will be known. And you will be paid attention to, and you will be monitored. Okay? Depending on your level of expertise, this could be a beautiful experience that's fun, or it can be downright terrifying. There are many of us who had these type of abilities to tap in to alternate realities and got lost there and couldn't make their way back when their third eye and pineal gland was completely expanded and open. We find these people in mental institutions. They have one foot in one realm and the other foot in the other. Society doesn't know what to do with these type of people, you see. Some of them aren't strong enough to handle what it is that they're seeing. And some of them aren't strong enough to make their way back when they venture out into the unknown. So it's very, very dangerous. Those of us who trained early, we can function. Nobody would know that I was crazy unless you lived with me. To most people, I come across as very sane and very ordinary. But for those who know me intimately, they know a different story. And how it can be difficult just navigating everyday life. Feeling energy, picking up on energy, being a portal, being contacted, knowing that you're being watched, not having the ability to control what you're seeing or experiencing when you close your eyes, and trying to train yourself because you really don't have anybody to train you or that even understands what's happening with you. So be careful with what it is that you're asking for. It's a completely indifferent world. I am Sophie. I love you all.